There is a very old question whether there is a kind of commandment, a preferred action, if we could call it, of eating matzah every day during the 7 days of the holiday of matzot, the Passover holiday. Should we be eating matzah every day or not? One might wonder what is the whole question. It's obvious. The Torah says 7 days you should eat matzah. The thing is, though, that the Talmud explains that there is no real obligation to eat matzah every day. Rather, there is a prohibition to eat chametz, to eat anything uh, that's leavened. So the um, the Torah just says that you should be eating matzah rather than eating chametz. That's all it's trying to say, according to the simple understanding of the Talmud. There's no actual commandment to eat matzah, only at night of Pesach. That is, according to everybody, a commandment. The Torah clearly says that we have to eat matzot, and there is dispute in the Talmud if this mitzvah applies to us from the Torah in our day, or it's only a rabbinical commandment. And the halacha follows the opinion that it's a biblical commandment. It's practically the only biblical commandment of eating something that's left. There were all kinds of commandments when the temple was standing. We had to eat Maser Sheni, for instance, the second tithe in Yerushalayim and Jerusalem, and all kinds of other commandments existed of eating something. Korban Pesach, of course, was eaten, the Passover offering. The maror was then also eaten with it, according to the biblical law. But today, the fact that we eat maror during the Seder, the Talmud tells us that's only a rabbinical commandment. The Torah only requires us to eat maror when we're eating Korban Pesach. So since there is no temple, there is no Korban Pesach, so even the maror is only a rabbinical command today. But matzah, since the Torah separately mentions eating matzah at that night, that is a commandment. That is a requirement. We have to eat matzah. Even a person who doesn't like matzah or for whatever reason might have stomach issues, as long as it's not going to be a danger for life. Of course, no positive commandment is more important than preserving one's life, even if something like circumcision. If, for instance, a child is sick, there are certain people who have problems with blood clotting, and if circumcision is dangerous, so then the person remains uncircumcised. The Talmud talks about this. So obviously, if a person cannot eat matzah because it's danger for life, I don't know if such a sickness exists that it's danger for life to eat matzah, then it wouldn't be required. But if a person simply will not feel good or has difficulties eating matzah, he or she, it's a commandment both for men and for women, has to eat the matzah at night. Pesach night is a commandment. And like I said, it's the only biblical commandment where eating something that was required is still applicable to us today. Until the temple was rebuilt, this is the only one that we fulfill from the Torah. But that's at night. What about the rest of the days? Maybe it's a commandment, maybe it's not. As I mentioned, it seems from the Talmud that there is no requirement to eat matzah every day during the 7 days. However, a number of poskim and many of the Torah commentaries also understand literally when the Torah says to eat matzah every day for 7 days, that there is some mitzvah in this. It's not a full obligation. It's not the same as the night of Pesach, but you definitely fulfill some kind of a good deed by eating matzah every day. And that's how the Vilna Gaon, one of the greatest Achronim, understood it, that while there is no full obligation, it's not a chiyuv gamur in the same sense as then eating matzah at night, as I mentioned. There is still a good deed to eat matzah every day, and that's what he did, and that's what he told his students to do, to eat matzah every day. Now, the truth of the matter is there's a second reason to eat matzah at any rate, both according to the Vilna Gaon and according to many other commentators, and that is the following. We know that on Shabbat and Yom Tov we have to eat bread. On Shabbat there is a requirement to eat 3 meals. On Yom Tov, on all the Jewish holidays, we have to eat the bread twice, 2 meals, one at night, one in the morning, or afternoon, whatever, during the daytime. By the way, Rambam's opinion, the Maimonides' opinion, is that even on Yom Tov you have to eat 3 meals, but we don't have that custom. The Shulchan Aruch tells us that the custom is to eat only 2 meals during the Yom Tov and 3 meals during Shabbat. By the way, the Vilna Gaon on the last day of Pesach, just because of the love of matzah and another possibility to eat matzah one more time, he would actually have on Yom Tov 3 meals, the last day of Yom Tov of Pesach, of Passover holiday. But in general, on Yom Tov we eat 2 meals a day. So since during Passover we cannot eat any other bread except matzah, so just because of the Yom Tov or Shabbat we would have to eat matzah, want it or not. The person who is able to eat matzah should eat it at least on all the Yomim Tovim and and on the Shabbat of Pesach. So the only thing left is Chol HaMoed, what's called the intermediate days of holidays that are a little bit like a holiday, a little bit like a weekday. Chol HaMoed. Chol is weekday, Moed is holiday. So we have these intermediate days between the first and the last day of Pesach. And outside the land of Israel, the first 2 days and the last 2 days are Yomim Tovim. So what's left in the middle, a few days of Chol HaMoed. So it's the question of eating matzah on those days. As I said, there may be a reason to eat matzah every day anyway, because that's what the Torah says, and that's what the simple meaning of the Torah seems to be, to eat matzah every day. And there seems to be actually some opinions in the Talmud also may have considered it a mitzvah. But in addition to all this, there may be a reason to eat matzah every day because of Chol HaMoed. Again, Chol HaMoed is something in between. It's not a full holiday, but it's somewhat of a holiday. So on Shabbat, for instance, on Yom Tov, we don't drive cars, we don't use electric appliances. There are all kinds of laws like that. But on Chol HaMoed, we do all that. That's why people will see how Orthodox Jews go on Chol HaMoed on various trips, entertainment. Right? It's a holiday that's where certain types of work are permissible. But usually people try to take days off and not actually work in the regular sense of the word work. You see, the word work for Orthodox Jews usually means the type of mlacha that is forbidden either on holidays or on Shabbat, which includes even relatively easy actions. Turning on the light is forbidden, for instance, even though it's not something hard, but it's considered mlacha. But in the sense that the word work is used in English language, meaning going to work and working hard, that we try to avoid on Chol HaMoed, unless there is a big financial loss. So if a person cannot take days off, then he's allowed to work on Chol HaMoed. But if a person can take vacation during those days, that's what we do. And most Orthodox Jews try to take vacation on Chol HaMoed. So the question is, since it's somewhat of a holiday, as I said, it's somewhat like weekday, but somewhat like a holiday, maybe there is a reason to make meals with bread every day on Chol HaMoed. And maybe even twice, at night and in the morning or afternoon, the same way as on Yom Tov. And in that case, since again, on Pesach there's no choice, you cannot eat chametz, so you're forced to eat. If you're eating bread already, the only bread you could eat is matzah. So that's why there are kind of 2 reasons to eat matzah during the entire Pesach holiday. One is because of maybe somewhat of a mitzvah to eat matzah every day. And the other reason is that maybe just because it's the days of Chol HaMoed are somewhat holiday days, maybe they require eating meals with bread, which would mean that on Pesach it would be matzah, only that kind of bread. And on this I'm going to end. If you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.